The number one reason why people fail as transactional lenders is that they don't even know where to start. But in the past 18 months, I've done over 200 deals in the transactional lending space. And so in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down my first 3 ever deals, where and how I got them, so that you can just copy what I did instead of reinventing the wheel. Now for context, all 3 of these deals are going to be earnest money deposit deals because those are the easiest deals to get into and also the most abundant. Let's talk about deal number 1. My first ever deal came from a meetup, an in-person meetup. If you are somebody who is not going to in-person real estate events and meetups to try and drum up business, whether you're trying to build transactional lending business or really anything else in the real estate space, you are doing yourself a disservice. If you want to go from not knowing anybody in real estate to knowing 10, 20, 30, 50 people like that, there is no better way than meetups. Why? Well, first of all, because it's face-to-face contact, right? You're talking directly to somebody, you're looking them in the eyes, you're learning about their life, their family, their business, and you can have the same conversation in 5 minutes there that you can have in 5 years going back and forth over text or DM or anything else like that. And so if you're not going to real estate meetups, all you gotta do is connect with local real estate groups, go online, meetup.com, whatever it might be, find meetups and go to them. Yes, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Yes, it works really well. And that's how I got my first deal. So here's a full breakdown. Before I went to this meetup, I learned everything I could about transactional lending. A lot of people struggle with analysis paralysis, right? Really, that's just a dumb way of saying you have no idea what to do, so you do nothing at all. But it is very important to know what the heck it is you're talking about. So before I went to this meetup, I learned everything that I could think of about transactional lending. I went online, Googled videos, talked to people I knew that had done deals in the past, all of that good stuff to make sure that I was prepared, right? Then I go to the meetup, and when I'm talking to people, a classic meetup is, hey, what's your name? What do you do, right? My response, I lend money to real estate investors. Super simple response, right? You don't have to go into crazy detail why, because you want to form a relationship and actually have a conversation with these people to get things up and running, right? And so for this first deal, what I did is I was going around to people, hey, my name is Ryan, I lend money to real estate investors. What do you do? Oh, I'm in the fix and flip space. Cool, what does money look like in your business, right? You doing hard money loans? Are you doing gap lending? You got somebody funding your rehabs, somebody funding your earnest money? What does that look like, right? Boom, on to the next one, so on and so forth. My first deal came from a meetup doing exactly that right after I had learned what the heck was going on. Now, did I fully understand how the whole process worked? Shocker, no, I had no idea. And I didn't have anybody to help me, I just sent it. I totally went for it, I didn't really know what I was doing. I learned the basic process and I conveyed confidence that maybe I didn't fully have because I just wanted to get into the space and I was willing to take the risks associated to do exactly that. And so my first deal that night came from somebody I connected with who said, you know what? We just got a couple deals under contract this week. Maybe you could come fund one of those deals and we can see what your process looks like. Now, that's when the stage was on, right? Then it was my job to perform, to do what I had said I could do, even though I was a little bit scrambled because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So, deal number 1, at a meetup, conveyed confidence and clarity, and probably one of the most important things that I got asked that night from the person I ended up doing the deal with was, if we do a deal with you, what are the next steps? What does the process look like, right? Where do I go? Do I just send you an email? Do I send you a text message? What do I do? If you have a good answer to that question, you have a 10 times more likely chance of closing that deal and potentially closing more deals with that person in the future because they want a process. They want you to say, step 1, go to this website. Step 2, submit a form. Step 3, you're gonna get reached out to via email. Whatever your processes may be, they want to hear about it and know what it is you are talking about. So, deal number 1, meetups. Go to meetups, be confident, talk to people, form relationships. It doesn't get much easier than that. Now let's talk about my second deal, a much less talked about topic that is completely overpowered on social media, and that is commenting. Now, this may not sound like a crazy novel concept, and shocker, it's not a crazy novel concept, but what do I mean when I say commenting? Well, when I'm on social media and you see people making posts and you comment on their posts, you are guaranteed for them to see what you do. Those of you who've been following me for a while, you hear me talk about cold outreach where you just reach out and DM people and basically say, hey, this is what I can do, or try to start a conversation. It's a very low leverage activity. I personally have never done that consistently. Why? Because it's super low leverage and it sucks, right? On the alternative, so if you send somebody a cold DM, right, there's a low chance they even see it. It goes into a request folder, a spam folder, whatever it may be, and they might see what you sent them. On the other hand, how many times do you get a notification when somebody comments on a post you've made? Every time, right? You always see comments. They're right there, they're public, visible, everybody can see them. And so if you want to significantly increase the chances of somebody seeing what you have to say, send them a comment. Put it right on their post for everybody to see. And in that comment, make it something that is in response to whatever it is they said. This is a high quality post. I want to buy this house from you. Whatever it may be. For my second deal, what I did was I had somebody make a post saying that they needed a lender. Now, it's very serendipitous how this entire situation played out, because somebody posted and said, I need somebody that can lend on multiple earnest money deals at a time. Somebody with experience is who I'm looking for so that I can expand and grow my business. What did I do with that? Well, I jumped in and commented and didn't leave them hanging, said, hey, I just funded a deal like this yesterday. Literally, I just funded a deal like this yesterday, right? And I have unlimited amounts of funds, something like that, basically saying, hey, look, here's my proof that I can do what you need, and here's what the next steps will be, right? So easy for somebody to see that, first of all, and then second of all, with commenting, you have to understand how to overcome the potential objections and or competition, you might call it, that other people might be, right? So in this scenario, somebody asking for somebody to fund multiple deals a month for them is like heaven for transactional lenders. Oh my gosh, a great borrower, right? Oh my goodness. But you have to be able to set yourself apart from all of those other people. And I was able to do that for my second deal, which became not only my second deal, but many more after that, because I was able to speak to this person directly and say, hey, look, this is what I can do. Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. I elevated my business in a way that made me look like a prime target for them to work with. And then I followed that up with reaching out to them in their DMs, because why? Now we're already having a conversation, right? They know who I am. They know to look out for what I have to say. Following up and saying, hey, let's get on a phone call so that I can explain the full process to you and show you why working with me makes more sense than working with anybody else. And that is how I got my second deal. All right, now my third deal came from probably my favorite way, not only then, but still now, to generate leads and close deals in the transactional lending space. And that is through posting content. Now, here's how you can take everything that I've talked about on this video, string it together in the same way I did to not only get one deal, not get two deals, not get three deals, but build an actual business, which is where most people get stuck in the long run. By stringing those things together, I was able to post effective content with what? With proof, right? One of the biggest struggles people have is they say, oh, Ryan, you said to go post content to generate leads for my deals, so now I have nothing to talk about. Well, if you go first and do a few deals like I just talked about, and then you post content about those deals, you now have established yourself, instead of just talking about a topic, which literally anybody can do by going on Wikipedia, looking something up and then typing something out, or asking ChatGPT, and now you're talking about an actual event that has occurred that establishes you as an authority 10 times higher than almost anybody else. And if you can continue to repeat that process, it will be insane. So for my third deal, what I did is I took that first deal I got, I took that second deal that I got, and I took them and I made a post about them. And that was it. I said, I just did these two deals in the last 2 weeks, and here's how they worked and how you can do the same thing, right? Kind of like what I'm sharing for you right now in this video. I took my experience, I took my proof, I showed photo evidence that it actually happened, right? And through doing that, I had somebody comment and then message me and say, hey, I've got a deal very similar to the deals you just talked about, and I think it would be a great scenario for you to lend with me. That one was a $5,000 EMD for $2,000 return, which at the time was the biggest return I'd ever gotten. I was kind of mind blown. It was awesome. I want the same for you. So for that third deal, again, I was posting content about what I was doing. And the big factor here is that it can be hard to explain to other people what you do, right? The scenarios that may come up in their business that may be a perfect fit for you guys. But if you just talk about deals you've already done, it's kind of like, if you guys have heard me talk about leads before, where you talk to a referral and you just say, hey, do you know anybody else who might need lending, right? It's not as direct, it's not as intrusive. You kind of get the same vibe when you're talking about what you're doing, because somebody's not saying, oh, this person's trying to pitch me on their lending services. I'm just telling a story, right? If you want to read my story, great. Here's a story of what I've done. And so it's less direct, it's less intrusive. They can just read the story and be like, that sounds a lot like the scenario I'm in right now. And that could be a recipe for success. So when you're posting, the important thing to do is to impose your authority, which can be done in two ways, right? There's two ways that you can show authority. One is through proof and success. That's the best way by far, but if you don't have that, the other one is through extraordinary effort, which means you spend a lot of time doing something, you learn a lot of things, you meet a lot of people, and then you share your experiences with other people or synthesize them, as my friend Kirby would like to talk about. So whether or not you're doing the first or the second of those examples, what you're doing is you're sharing something that nobody else can share. That's where everybody gets lost in content. You're not sharing a Wikipedia article, you're sharing something that nobody else can depict and explain in the same way that you can. And if you can pull that off, then you can take this first successful piece of content from your other string of events and turn that into a multitude of successful posts and content that will continue to bring you deals, not just this week, not just next month, but for years to come. So looking back over those first 3 deals, it was very cool how it all worked out, right? Because they did string together. I went from easiest to hardest naturally without having anybody tell me that that was the right way to do it. It turns out that it just kind of molded that way. And now I can sit here and tell you about my experiences and tell you that is a great way to do it, right? Start with the simple stuff. It may not be comfortable, but going to a meetup and just talking about what you do, not the hardest thing on the planet, right? Commenting on other people's posts on Facebook, not the hardest thing on the planet. All you gotta do is have a little bit of knowledge, right? You gotta understand what you're talking about. You can establish that in a multitude of ways, but once you do that, then you can get those little experiences, right? Maybe you even reject a deal, right? Maybe you have something come in that's not good. Whatever it is, you take that experience, you make a post about it, you share your authority, you get deals through that, and that is a rinse and repeat cycle. Now you have more stories to tell, you've got more proof, you've got more posts to make, and you make more free content. You continue on that wheel, you expand your reach to more people. The more times you do that, the more your evidence stacks up, the more impressive and authoritative you can be. And that is how I got my first 3 deals. So to recap, my first ever transactional lending deal came from a meetup. Almost every single one of you guys listening to this right now can go to a local meetup and talk with other people and find deals in that way if you know what you're talking about. My second transactional lending deal came from posting on Facebook, not posting, actually, commenting on Facebook posts, because that is less difficult, right? It's way easier to comment on somebody else's post than to make your own. It's less nerve-wracking. You don't have to think nearly as hard. You just type something in, hit enter, and if you take a little bit of brain power and put it into that, you can get deals through that way, especially if you're vigilant and diligent in looking for deals online, because they are all over the place. And then my third deal that continues on from 18 months ago or whatever it was when I started is posting content about the proof that I already have to continue to expand my horizon. If you're watching this video right now, it probably means you want to get your first or next transactional lending deal. I just want to be honest with you. It is not as difficult as you think it is. The problem is not taking perfect action, it's not doing anything at all. So I hope that this video can give you a slight glimpse into what it takes to get that first deal, the actions that you need to take. If you're not doing any of the 3 things I just talked about, what are you doing, right? You gotta be doing something. You have to build up that confidence. You gotta get that clear next step. You don't have to have a 5 freaking year plan, right? Just figure out what you can do tomorrow to get yourself closer to your goal. And if you don't know what your goal is, you better figure that out first, because this crap isn't easy. And if you don't have a clear goal in mind, then you're not gonna be motivated to do it, because I have a clear goal and I still am not motivated half the time. So make sure you've got a clear goal, get those action steps in place. If you don't have the confidence to even go speak with people at a meetup, comment on other people's posts, hold a high-level conversation where you know what the heck is going on, I made a 4-hour masterclass breaking down everything that I have done in my transactional lending business and still do to this day that you can copy and paste to learn every detail of the process for free. There is literally nothing else like this that exists on the internet. First link in the description, click that, go through the 4-hour masterclass, take notes, watch it again, build up that confidence, and then go take the steps I took to get my first 3 deals. You can get your first 3 deals and many more. I hope you've learned a ton from this and you learned a ton more from that masterclass, and I'll see you guys in the next video.